Welcome back to VCT Americas and our second match of the day. It's MIBR facing off against Crew. Of course, I'm Golden Boy here alongside with my partner in crime, Mimi, and joining us here, Sean Gears. Hello, Sean. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in forever.
Thank you.
Didn't you see him this morning?
Well, you know, I mean, like in an official work capacity, because I only engage with people when I'm being paid.
It's like when two countries send like an envoy to another. You're visiting the embassy of Sean Gears.
Yes.
Okay. This is weird because this was my host yesterday. You trained her.
Yes. Yes.
I saw you actually via the call.
That's right. And now I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Crazy.
almost TV magic, Sean. TV magic. All right. Well, first, let's go ahead and talk about our first squad. And that is, of course, going to be Crew. Now, they suffered a pretty big loss to a Brazilian team last week, which is something that Crew had never really struggled with before. But now this is the Americas League, maybe. It's a whole different ball game. And Crew, they're starting from scratch.
Yeah, and heading into Americas, Crew obviously made some big changes. They switched around the leadership, brought in a new coach, and of course, signed Kesnet. All of these things were obviously new stuff that they had to get used to. And I think for week number one, a lot of it was about like having a testing period, figuring out what they could do. And Kesnet was solid, but overall, it was still showing that this is a very, very new team that is having a lot of changes right now.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Kesnet. I mean, he picked up right where he left off on this team.
Yeah,
Star player of the team, had an impactful performance on the jet roll, but strategically they fell behind, especially in the second map. I'm interested to see, can Crew have a game plan across an entire series? We haven't seen it for years.
Yeah, we really haven't. It has been ages since we've seen them have those ideas. And it's kind of the question for this team of like, how long do we give them? Because sure, you have a 9-week split, but if you're trying to make it towards the upper echelon, make playoffs, those kinds of goals, you have to start picking up wins, especially in a game today versus MIBR. And you brought up some of the strategic issues. I think map number one in this series, like you were saying, looked better, but I feel like a lot of that was kind of brought through by individuals, by Kesnet and by Davies popping off. And you can see a tweet from Kesnet here as well, GB, talking about the progress of the team.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, one of the things he said was that the work that we're putting into Crew Esports is very hard. I have no doubt that at some point it will bear fruit. We're giving everything to improve and build a good work team. Our time will come. And, of course, good morning. So I think, you know, buenos dias. I think it goes without saying that, like, yes, this is a team that we've seen the capabilities of them in the past. We know that the skill is there. It's like that for a lot of squads here in the Americas League. But, Sean, there really does seem to be this, like, I don't want to say changing of the guard, but it does feel as if a lot of these players that were popping off in the 2021 season, in the beginning of the 2022 season, you know, and beyond, they're really starting to struggle here. Why is that?
They've really fallen back. The Zoomies are taking over. They're just coming in strong. No, everyone's young in this game at this point. But I honestly think Crew is going to have a resurgence, right? Having Kesnet back on the team, reading that tweet specifically, he talks about their work ethic and just making sure they're staying focused on the game. And he came from Leviathan, who was coached by Owner, who is constantly known for just drilling his players and the brutal practice schedule that the players talked about before lock-in. So I think Kesnet's going to bring some of those things back to this Crew team. And it's just a matter of time. But there's only 9 weeks.
That's true. There's only 9 weeks. There's only 9 weeks. You don't have a lot of time here to figure it out, you know. So it's going to be a lot of work here. But one player that was putting in that work last week, though, was Davies, and was kind of maybe the high point here for this Crew lineup, who did struggle in that last game against the Brazilians.
Yeah, you brought up kind of the leadership bringing in new ideas. This team worked with Owner when they were at their peak. He was their coach, and I think they're trying to re-hit some of that. But they're also bringing in fresh ideas, fresh players, and Davies is one of those. He was kind of the main prospect out of LATAM North, and thus far on this team, I feel like he's actually looked really good. He's been flexing around, playing some Raze, playing some Killjoy. He's been a solid individual player, and I think a good piece of talent to add to this roster. But it's kind of the same thing we've been talking about for everything about this team, where it's about finding the coordination and finding the strategic depth that's been missing thus far.
Yeah, Davies is an excellent player that's been known around the North American scene for quite a while. He was playing on that Zolos team. And they scrim against a lot of North American teams. We played against them when I was on 100 Thieves, and they're an insane team, despite playing with 100 ping online in a lot of these games, very stratted up. So it's just a matter of time before he, you know, feels comfortable in this team. Yeah,
and the new coach of Crew as well, Adam, is the coach from that squad that you were talking about. So some of those ideas, I hope, will get implemented into Crew now.
But again, you know, time's a ticking. You got to make this happen here. Now, for more on this matchup, we've enlisted two of the biggest brains in all of esports to run the telestrator. At the same time, it's the Breakdown Buddies. That's right. And here to show, well, let me go ahead and explain how this whole thing's gonna work, all right? We have Bala, who's gonna silently run the video, and Wyatt, who will be talking and handling the analysisation. All right, now, here's the thing. Despite not knowing what's going to happen on screen, both of these guys are so smart that this is going to 100% work. Ironclad strategy, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, surely this is going to go well. Bala actually gets paid by the word, and he's not allowed to say anything, so here he is. He's going to do everything on the board, and I'm going to try my best to explain it. Bala's a pro with the telestrator. Surely this will be fine. I know a lot about Valorant, surely. All right, so first of all, he's going to show you smokes down from the attacking side on split. But there's one down lower mid? Well, that's peculiar. What is that Astra doing? What is Melser cooking? Bala is asking. Jet and Raze. He really likes Jet a lot. I mean, that's good. Now he's starting the round. The Jet and the Raze. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna do something crazy up mid? Sky Flash. You love to see it. Double Satchel. Love to see it. Jet Dash. Love to see it. The Jet's going forward. And now they swing together. Holy, they've swung together. Astra sucked down.
Holy, they've swung together.
There it is. What's coming up next? What will Crew cook on this B split? He's paused it. I'm pausing.
Pause for brevity. Pause for brevity.
Pausers. And he's, oh my God, Davies is about to have the ultimate, the showstopper, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming out top. Khalil with 2 nice kills. God, Khalil is so good. Davies, though, he trades it out, gets the showstopper. 3rd kill on the round. Look at him cracking open the sight. Amazing gameplay. Ball, what do you have in store for us next? Okay. On this next round, it's round 8. There's a minute 38 on the clock.
He did not mean to do that
8. Okay, 2 circles in mid. Those are really big circles. That could mean all types of stuff. There's a lot of utility and a lot of things in mid. Okay, so they're pushing up mid. The Astra's gonna, okay. I mean, hey, Bala, a little bit of info here, dude. Any information? Were you pointing at the Raze kicks? What are you talking about? Okay, there's right. I mean, I can see that I can see Digizina's opping, dude. It's on the screen. So he's opping out of, okay, peaks, Davies gets the trade. Great. In the meantime, Melser is pushed up into the mailroom. USPS on the way. Here comes the USPS B hit coming through heaven. What? Okay, box. Dude, can you... Ball, you gotta make sense of this. Okay, Kesnet has an operator on attack. That is a little, okay, but also has the knives. Sure.
What?
Is that a question mark? I think.
Okay. I mean, sure, I'm questioning that that's a question mark, but yeah, I'm rolling with it. All right. Flash out of the smoke, makes sense. The dash behind, craziness, insanity. Yep, I saw that too, Bala. It just happened, actually. Yeah, you're right. And now they're going into B. Still, Khalil, backside. What can he do? He's got the Bucky. Is he feeling lucky? Yes, that's one. Caster moment. Riot, hire me. I'm a caster. four attackers on the site. Oh. Is that it? I mean, what are you trying to illustrate to the people? Are crews supposed to be good? Are they supposed to? Can you write something?
Wait, is he gonna spell it out?
Freehand it. Kesnet, Davies, double duelist, double the fun. There we go.
That's it.
Good job, Bala.
I learned so much, and I hope everyone at home learned a lot as well. Thank you guys so much, but now it's time to move on to MIBR.
I mean, I think Crew's just going to win. Double duelist, double the fun.
Double duelist, double the fun. Bucky, maybe you're lucky. Who knows? We'll find out next time. Dragon Ball Z. Okay, well, let's go ahead, though, and talk about MIBR. Because here's the thing. Yes, they did lose to Loud last week, but that match, Sean, was so good. It showed us a lot about MIBR.
It really did, and it showed us that they can compete with the teams at the upper echelon of this Americas division. And I didn't expect it personally, because what we saw at lock-in was so disjointed, so little team play when they ran up against Talon, especially on Haven. I did not like what I saw there. I thought Talon abused a lot of holes in their game, and MIBR couldn't find the holes in Talon's game. But that wasn't there last week when we watched them play, and that was massive. But I think if they want to have a run here, Heat is going to actually need to play at a higher level than what we even saw last week.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for that. But you talked about them kind of having a lot of holes that were found. They actually managed to exploit some holes in Loud setup last week on that Lotus map.
Yeah.
I thought they had one of the best defensive sides that we've seen on that map. It was really incredible. They lent a lot into playing these fast retakes together. And, well, it's not a super crazy idea. It was the coordination that was really well done for this MIBR squad. JZZ and RGL were always fighting deep forward to aid the team and create space for these retakes to happen, that they were consistently winning on a map where most of the time, once you get that spike down, it can be pretty difficult to win that out as a defender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their Lotus was super impressive, in particular, like you said, their defensive half.
Sure.
But I don't believe it's something that was super sustainable, particularly against the Harbor Viper comp that Loud were running. And I'm also not too big of a fan of some of the changes Loud has made since lock-in.
Sure.
Now, I think I was impressed with what they did on Haven, and I thought the comeback should have happened. I actually thought they should have beat Loud last week. So can MIBR maintain that, or was that a flash in the pan?
That's true.
Was there a lot of anti-stratting last week? And that's what today we're going to learn.
Yeah, and I think in that we saw some of the kind of ideas finally coming together. There's a lot of hype around this team when we first heard who the roster was, about like Bazooka as a coach, his prep, his anti-strat that we saw with Loud. And I think we got a little bit more of that last week. And they actually came in with really good ideas and good counters to what Loud was doing, which I don't think we've really gotten to see much of up until last week for MIBR, which gives me a lot more faith in them.
Yeah, and you know, another reason why I have a lot of faith in this MIBR team as well is a player that oftentimes goes really under the radar, I think, and that's RGL, right? Like RGL, I think last week really made his presence felt, really had a great debut on the America stage. But Mimi, I think like if RGL, if MIBR can continue to find this form, this could very well be a contending team. But again, it's too early to tell. But I like what I saw last week.
Yeah, I mean, RGL's anchoring across this one was really good, and also the way that he managed to play in clutch situations is a big part of what kept MIBR in this series against Loud. There's a lot of strong players that have been known about being great in the Brazilian scene for quite a while. Obviously, RGL is one of those, FRZ. Most of the guys on this team have had that excitement regionally, but I think now for the first time, we're seeing that translate into an international stage, which was MIBR's struggle for so long, because the core of this roster has been together quite a while.
Yeah, you mentioned they struggled. FRZ, actually, he's struggling quite significantly. I believe he's like the worst rated player right now in the group stage. Him and Klaus are actually right down there together. So can those players, the in-game leader specifically, find success, get some momentum going behind the team?
You're really going to be turning to the leadership here, right? And obviously you turn to Coach Bazooka here as well. World champion, a guy who's done it. He's been at the top of the mountain. So let's actually go ahead and hear from MIBR's Coach Bazooka, because there was a tweet that he put out where he says, "We lost our debut by 1-2 against Loud. No time for sadness. I'm proud of our performance and our evolution." And of course, like I said before, Mimi, this is coming from a world championship coach, a guy who's been here, who has done that, who knows what it takes to get to the top of the mountain. He believes in this team, and I think if he believes, I believe.
And I feel like MIBR is setting reasonable goals for themselves, and we're starting to see the incremental improvement. The last point about the evolution of the squad, I think is quite important for this team, because they looked really rough at lock-in. They improved in the first week that we've seen in Americas. Slowly, I feel like the strategy and the coordination between this team is continuing to improve, because it was kind of a bold project, right? You brought FRZ, Bazooka, guys that have been leaning more into that kind of Loud style of Brazilian play, the more modern style, with some guys who are great talents, but more so just individually skilled, haven't had that structure in the same way before. And that's something that takes time to develop, but they're getting towards.
Yeah,
they're definitely getting there towards the structure, but they still they're going to need to rely on Heat, because he's just such a talent that I feel like if you have a Jet like that, you have to kind of take the shackles off of him. You have to let him go for opening picks, opening duels. And I feel like that's something that other teams in the region, like Loud with Ospus or Furia with DG Zin, they do that really, really well. And it doesn't seem like MIBR has all of the protocols set right now to get those things done. And it's mainly just Heat popping off on an individual level. And it's very easy for him to fall flat.
Yeah, if you let these two, and actually I did want to have an opportunity to talk about this, because we had two players really highlight. We did talk about Heat a little bit, but also, Kesnick coming in last week, right? Being the player to kind of step into those shoes again. It's going to be important. And Sean, to your point, you were talking about how you really need these types of players, these star players, really pop off, to be the difference makers here. Mimi, I think that, Heat is certainly going to be one of those players that we have to keep an eye on here throughout the rest of the split.
Yeah, Sean, you brought up similar points about both these teams where we see the talent, we see the stars in their duelist players, but they're working to find the structure and the coordination behind it to hit that next level. But today, in two teams that are kind of in their formative stages, if one of your individuals like that takes over, that can just be your win condition.
Yeah, and I think that's what we saw happen for Crew on Split last week. They started to have that. They started to be able to run away with it, but they lost both pistols on their map pick, and it slipped right out of their hands, right? But I think Kesnet has that star player potential just like Heat does, right? They're both willing to just take aim duels.
Yeah.
And they're willing to just put the team on their back. And not a lot of Star Jets do that, right? Even in the matchup we just watched, you don't see that a lot out of Victor. He's kind of playing safer and more towards the team.
Yeah.
There's not a right or wrong way to play, but I think if you can mix in the strategy with kind of that punchy Jet style, you get something like Loud and a mega successful team.
Yeah, do you guys feel like MIBR, right? Given what we saw last week, are they at that, or can they get to that point? Do they have the tools to get to that point? Or are they missing that piece that could potentially take them to the next level?
I think they can. I think every team from the Latin American region can. They've taken the leadership from the top teams in the region, Leviathan and Loud, and they've brought it down. They've trickled it down to the bottom of the scene, and they're now boot camping here for 10 weeks. It's just a matter of time before these teams pop off and become insane. And I'm here for it. I definitely think MIBR and Crew are going to be competing, maybe not this season, but next one. Like sure. they are building projects right now, and they're going to be really good.
Yeah. But I also think that if one of these teams can start to hit those stages, can really kind of move more quickly in their development, there is a world where maybe hitting playoffs, just kind of scraping into that 6th position, is possible. I think especially for MIBR. I've had a little bit more confidence in what I've seen from them thus far than with Crew, but they've also had more time together as that project. But going back to the point around development and having that time, that's really fantastic for these teams because you have Bazooka on one side to bring that in. And for Crew, you have guys who have hit the peak before. Kesnet has been there. Nags has been there. The core of Crew has been on top of the world. And the last year has been about them trying to get back to that. So they're definitely driven. They're definitely grinding to try and hit those peaks again. Yeah,
and let's actually shine a light there on Nags from Crew for a moment here because he also, I think last week, overall, you're kind of happy with the way things, have played out stats-wise for you, not happy that you weren't able to pick up those dubs. But performance-wise, it wasn't the absolute worst it could have potentially had been. Sean, you're saying different?
Yeah, I feel like Nags is one of those players that has been very streaky on this roster throughout his time frame on it. And, if Crew suffers a loss today, I feel like, you have to look at potentially making some changes, right? And I think Nags is the type of player that has the skill set. We've seen him pop up. We've seen him be a huge pivotal piece of this team, and he needs to regain that form. And that's where I think, the coaching staff of the team comes into play. Sure. And maybe Kesnet has some ideas from the stuff he saw at Leviathan.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think for Nags as well, most of the criticism that came under him was during the chamber meta. When Kesnet was still playing on the primary duelist, they had him flexing onto the chamber. It didn't feel like a role. Shining the spotlight on him in that way was as comfortable. I think the Sentinel role is where he's always felt better, has performed better. When he was hitting those peaks, it was in a meta that was more similar to what we have now. So if he can perform, if he can kind of shake off some of those past woes, I think there is still a reason to prove why this guy has survived on the Crew roster for so long.
Yeah, I'm telling you, a microscope is going to be on Nags here to see what happens in this game. All these players as well, projects that obviously are going to take some time to develop, but the skill is most definitely there. Now, one thing that I did want to let everyone know back at home, as well as for those of you guys here at the Riot Arena, is that we are having some technical issues on stage before this match. So we're going to take a quick break, relax for a minute, and then when we come back, we're going to have Crew versus MIBR. We'll get underway in just a few minutes, so stay right there. We'll see you soon.
nowhere to go, but holy smokes, what a shot from JZZ.
What a shot by Kessin! And it's halfway for Kessin, and he gets the NES!
We have Crew Esports taking on MIBR, and this is gonna be awesome. Let's see what we end up getting from this. Has Crew developed? Have they found themselves within this week? Or will MIBR continue to show us why they are a team to fear here in the VCT Americas region? This is gonna be a great matchup, Mimi. I'm looking forward to it.
MIBR got the bunny buff. They're going to be on stage.
They got the bunny buff. Feeling a little festive out there, I see. I like it. I like it.
Magic for a second.
Could be.
Not the rest of Sentinels.
Maybe everyone else needed to come out with bunny ears, you know?
Honestly, they need to take those ears off.
The tack timeout's going to be crazy for MIBR.
Oh man, look, I'm stoked for this matchup because I agree with you, Sean. These are projects. This is going to take a little while to like really develop, but I feel like MIBR is a lot further along that process because they had those pieces in place already, and they've also been surrounded by some high quality talent in Brazil. So they have grown so much over this course of time.
I would love to be there with you in that, but I guess I just haven't seen them do anything significant on an international level in so long.
That's fair, completely fair. I think I'm just really going nuts about the Loud game yesterday. I was really shocked, or last week, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those early days with Heat, and I'm sure you do as well, Mimi, where he would just dominate games, absolutely take them over. And I see flashes of it still when I watched his lock-in performance, but nothing like what we used to see. I think he can get back to that level.
Yeah, but the thing is that the game has progressed so much. You can't just be Vivo Keed anymore, having a star duelist who goes around and kills everyone. We've seen that with the rest of the Brazilian teams, having the progress, leaning more into strategy, actually being the leading innovators in the meta with Furia and with Loud. And MIBR now, with Bazooka in the team, are going to try and follow in their footsteps, but I agree with you, it's not there yet. But also, I haven't seen it yet from Crew. They had some good moments. I like the double duelist comp on Split, but their Ascent, they struggled to really find anything in that second match against Furia.
All right, well, we're not going to be going to the box here today. Crew does not like Heineken fun, but that's fine. We'll see what we end up going here for our first match. Split is going to get removed by MIBR. Let's see what this first option is going to be here. It, of course, will be Crew's pick.
Yeah, I'm wondering, do they go into the Haven here? That's kind of what I'd expect, but instead they go to the Ascent. And my guess is they saw some of the, I mean, what? They were the ones who struggled so much on that map.
What did they see? I don't know. I don't think they
I'm
saw.
surprised by that.
I think
Maybe
they just
they saw what the team that bodied them did, because they did not look good there. And MIBR going back to Lotus.
Yeah.
This is where we saw them on last week. This is where they look good.
And this is good for MIBR because really think about this, right? This is a long season, as we keep on saying. You don't show a lot of your maps throughout these first few weeks. That's pretty solid for MIBR. They keep going back to Lotus. They only really have to worry about Ascent, which we've already seen.
Yeah, we saw Crew play on Lotus at lock-in against Navi, I believe. It was like a 13-10 loss where they got kind of dumpstered on one side, but they had some good moments on their attack. They were playing a kind of strange neon rays composition that I liked some of the ideas I was saying, but it felt a lot more kind of reliant on the individuals, like some of the stuff we've been talking with Crew already. But map number 3, we will head to Pearl in this one, which neither of these teams have played yet in their current iteration.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to look
literally
into.
Against my counterpoint. Like, you're not showing a lot. You might be.
These are super interesting maps, and if I had to say, GB, I actually think that these maps do favor MIBR a little bit. I would favor them on Lotus based on what we've seen, and Ascent. I mean, Crew looked kind of rough there, and honestly, every team in the region is good on Ascent.
Yeah.
It's a coin flip.
Especially since you're picking into it. You're likely going to start on attack here, which is so rough against an MIBR squad, who I think you were talking a lot about. Heat, this is a map where he is incredible on. I mean, obviously, you're a Jet player. You're going to do good on Ascent. But yeah, this is going to be a strange one. Don't expect anything special with the compositions. It's Ascent. We should get our bog standard. And we've been talking a lot about both these teams developing their fundamentals. This is a chance to show it, because that's what Ascent is really all about.
Exactly. It's just how well can these initiators control the main? Are they able to take mid control, break that alarm bot in mid? What is their tree pressure like on the attack side? And are the Omen one-ways sticking?
Yeah. And I'm looking at the IGLs in this one as well. Which team can adapt better? For IGLs that are stepping kind of freshly into the role, can you find that adaptation at the end? Because Ascent is almost always going to be a close game.
This is going to be a fun one. I have no idea how this, no one knows. If I did, I probably would have played the lottery by now. But that being said, the good news is two guys who play the lottery all the time. That's because we're all old. We have the one and only Vansili and Riv on the call. Let's see what ends up happening with this game.
Thank you so much to the boy who's golden, Riv. Yeah, well, I mean, we're old, but we don't really gamble here, but it might be a gamble to figure out who's going to win throughout this series, rather, between these two teams, because MIBR, they have an opportunity here to be the second team to beat Crew. Crew's always been a powerhouse against Brazilian teams, but Fura kind of broke that last week.
They did. They absolutely did. We'll see if it can happen. Are they bleeding still, right? Have they repaired? Are they recovered? Are they patched up? Or is that wound still open? And can MIBR find it? I believe it's going to be the Jet matchup like we were hearing before. Heat being able to control games before. Do we see him back to that position? Back to a place where he can basically make a team think twice about peeking an angle unless you have two people on it. Hasn't it? The same story there, as it looks like we'll get more mid-play now than we have all Ascent at the start of VCT Americas.
Started very fast. He was already under heavy control. Is forced to dash away into the market. Forfeiting a bit towards that market side, but look at FRZ, still very much pushed up. Could hear the auto cues, the flash moving forward as RGL's also pushed back. So two players on the defense now damaged as Crew's moving into the A site.
Pretty quick and easy take. The gamble for mid allows MIBR the retake, but now how quick does Crew set up the post plant? Everybody quick huddles under that hell area, but it's an in-sight hold. This could get tricky if that util dump comes in here from MIBR. Looking at the 0 point.
It's winning for a good timing.
4. So they know.
On the defense, Paranoia, and even a recon there. So a nice combo. As Crew's moving in for a hold, JZZ enters back with a frenzy. Slowly but surely, all of Crew is falling down. Only one to go. And it's JZZ stepping up to the plate for this pistol round for MIBR.
MIBR instantly recognizing with utility that they really didn't have to do much other than cover the site, right? Everybody's focused on an internal angle. A main's fine. You already have tree covered. It made it that much easier to be confident about what angles you're checking. And Crew kind of went for a bet there. That is definitely a difficult hold to make happen. And we see why. Nice job by MIBR to start off strong here. Looks like they won't do any gamble stack, but still leaving Heat towards middle on these rounds. So it looks like they will not allow Crew any sort of games towards that area. And the spike's going to stay towards A. Might be just util and ultra grabs here for the beginning. Right, 3 pretty big util actually used just to get that space, and the spike's first. So easy hold now for MIBR.
Spike down out of the open. That's going to be very difficult for Crew to get it back, especially these one-ways continuing to come up on the defensive side of RGL. Also see on that mini-map, the radar, a player has been lost for Crew early from the hands of Heat on that mid battle, as you mentioned over here, Riz. So Kesnet activating that dash, looking to get a lucky kill here. But there's just so much deniability because of these smokes. Very tough to lose that spike out in the open early.
Looks to be the flawless. MIBR sets a little bit of pace here, and it's not even pushing up too much, right? They're meeting at the entrance. They're fighting for A main. They're just making sure Crew can't get positioned to set up that utility to make the site take happen. Always there on the line of scrimmage so far. We'll see what the bonus round has for him. Here is Davies working around the map, seeing if he can find someone's back here in the last few seconds of the round.
Exactly. After he got spotted on tree, trying to catch one off the rotate of B.
30 seconds
that rotation
left.
of MIBR came from mid into cat. Easy kill for Heat and Yen. 2 unanswered rounds. Not much you could do here for Crew on that eco that you brought in. But now an opportunity to fight back as the rifles are at least coming in on the attack.
JZZ 2 away from ultimate at 4-0, 3-0 for Heat. They're feeling good, so we should see those actually come up if they do find any trouble. But it's Vandals across the board here. So it's like Crew's going for the 1 taps, and we'll see how they try to play a 3-2 split. 0 Point probably going up towards Cat here so they can make sure mid's covered for the most part, but more pressure towards mid from MIBR. 3 again.
I like it for Crew, though. Those Vandals that are coming out, playing that distance of pressure exactly in that. The long range of the Vandals against the submachine guns, and Keston opens up 2 while they lose 1 on Crew's side. The action slows down for a bit. RGL couldn't really come out for the support from Cat because of the smoke that was thrown from Melzer. Now Crew has a lot of the map that they could work with. All of them now leaning towards this A side.
That's a big play from Kesnet too. They put a lot of flashes in there. Davies over the wall. Bolt came through as well from Klaus, so a lot rested on Davies' shoulders to be able to get an opening pick there. 4v3 as they look to enter A. The drone's going to signal this as MIBR starts to rotate.
Good delay. Fragment on the ground, so that cancels out the paranoia that was thrown on the attack from Melzer. Gonna make it even more difficult for Crew to try to enter in. And this gives a chance for all of the players of MIBR to rotate over and stack towards this A site. Recon dart will be important here for Crew to see if they could spot anybody. But we stay hidden, we stay behind for MIBR. Finally, after the initiation, still we open up! A 1v1 class is low on HP, and the bonus round comes in for MIBR.
That's absolutely huge. The execution from RGL coming in from Tree as soon as he could find Crew's back. The timing was perfect. I don't think there was any other window to choose as the players from Heaven were also peeking. And it wasn't a paranoia, right? They come in just smoking out and making sure they can get the angle that they need. You see the 2 players in A main weren't really affected. They were just lost on what angle they needed to look. And there were only 3 members of MIBR. Really creating stress once Crew gets to the site. MIBR seems to have Crew quite shook. Stingers to Sheriffs for the side of Crew as they look to kind of put all their forces and cards here towards B.
The attempt of trying to go quick, stopped by the Nano Swarm. FRZ already playing towards the switch. The half buy that comes in very low for Crew. A little bit of a dink, yes. Heavily damaged our Crew.
Up already.
Yeah, came in early for Heat right there for that mid pressure.
Whoops.
Well, at least he loses it immediately as we mentioned that. But still looking pretty good for MIBR. Keeping the last 2 players pinched inside Switch and Market.
Last player standing.
The Al drone allows the wall bank from JZ to come out. Davies with that rifle. I got that pick onto Heat. Attempting to clutch. A 3 versus 1 fragment to force out the double swing. It almost had that at that point, but it's still MIBR that will salvage the up and put 4 on the board.
One of those plays that makes you hold your breath for a moment. You see it in this play right here. FRZ coming out with a smart one. You see MIBR thinking it's the save. What tricks can they pull? Jet to switch is always a good one. So FRZ holds that down right away, and they can't even execute the second layer of that strategy after you see Kesnet go in. 4-0 now. 7-1 for JZZ. RGL still hasn't died, and we see the plays that they're making to get back into the site. They aren't just playing it safe. They are still pushing forward. Here to fight for A main a little bit again is Maurice gets a bit of info.
Oh, and it's a paranoid fella to come out. That pings onto Davies. And he also falls. Didn't get the ping onto the other ones, but that's a nice way to answer back early into this round of what Crew was trying to do. Both extremities controlled by Made in Brazil.
That's so neat to see. It's the reverse, right? Usually it's the tacking Sova from Gelato that puts it up the gut of Tree. Whoever is near window also gets hit, but that return fire, as you called, with the paranoia too, and they're back into the site.
One enemy remaining.
Dancing around.
Spike
the support
down
system's
A.
already there for MIBR too. Just really seems that everything that we're trying so far for Crew just gets fully denied. Only one being damaged into this round is Moritz. As Melzer, 47 seconds left to just try to save this weapon. He just got nowhere to go. Push already came out from the B link. Trying to get this timing as FRZ just silently walks behind him.
30 seconds left.
Right now, we're still just trying to see for Crew. I mean, this is going to be a very important rifle moving into the next round. You see the economy coming out on the attack is almost non-existent.
Yeah, it's a already third loss max. They get 2,900 on top of what, 250 credits, 300 credits.
Left.
So sitting around just 3,000 credits for Crew next round, which means MIBR gets to fold these rounds over, and they're to maybe 5 or 6, and they're not playing it slow. Right now they're hunting. Oh, quick shot at the end there, and we see how this happened in the beginning with the paranoia kind of just denying any type of dodge. And Heat still getting that off a pickup last round. The MIBR is holding mid, and when they're not holding mid, still one person there and anchoring the sites completely. They're staying far enough back to the 0 point that Crew is throwing out. Davies isn't getting as much information. I think we'll have to wait to see what this null command and the 3 ultimates that Crew have on deck here even do, since they aren't going to be on that low buy round. But who knows? Maybe they try to pull out something tricky here. They've just, MIBR has had their number, and it doesn't look like MIBR has had to do too much to do that. The defense is great, the 1v1s are great, and JZZ 9-1 right now. Everybody is playing on their game.
No, I think to piggyback on what you're saying, the defense is really good for MIBR. So far, with the first contact that you have from Heat, taking control of middle, they had numbers to play on that pistol, but as we get into these gun rounds, now Heat can really shut down a whole lane with this operator. Not too much pressure going in from Crew at these points. They're trying to fight on the sides, and when they're fighting on these extremities, there's just a lot of utility coming out on that end to actually hold them back. So we had a little bit of that pause coming through, and we have an opportunity to come back here into this round for Crew. Gonna be a full eco coming in.
And it was interesting to see how fast Heat went for that up, right? You know how much it means to MIBR. Right? Yeah, just right off of after the bonus round, yeah. So seeing how quickly they actually put priority on that, so he can change the game or control whatever, and go from place to place. He's a little bit of a mid peak. They actually mistime each other for a quick second.
Could be important right here.
Double miss.
Kunai's missing from Kesnet. But the information's there. A little bit of support coming out from Crew. We talked about not too much mid pressure happening from Crew. It's happening this time. Flying to break the alarm bot, rotating back towards tree. Only one player holding, and actually 2 now. You can see it down the lane through the X-ray. That's RGL, and Modri's holding it towards the tree.
Interesting position. Drone goes down. You can see Murray's ready to just play a flash and kind of get out of here with the fragment.
Just so much delay.
So one person, a denial of everyone on cash.
Util now the lockdown just to push Crew once again outside of the extremities of this lockdown. Kesnet still manages to get a pick off the rotation though. Lockdown finally gets broken at first. He's holding towards the back of the site, waiting for the cavalry to help him out. Under heavy pressure as the null command comes out on the attack, and finally things are looking good for Crew.
Spike planted.
So they do use the ultimates. They go right in, garrison themselves inside the site now, and this is where it makes the operator tough to use. We saw this yesterday as well. C9 would get by the operator when they would just dash into the site, make sure they're in there, and make that retake even harder once they post up.
Waiting for that smoke to dissipate. Still an opportunity for MIBR to get some picks if they can. Again, Kesnet dancing around and taunting Heat.
Last player standing.
Finally, it's gonna be Davies that had enough out of that. RGL just trying to line up the last ones coming out. And that becomes actually pretty clean in the end for Crew Swifty.
Finally, this is how I like to win.
Coming out of the, at least the timeout, wasn't much said in it. But that definitely, as you said, reset players. They find themselves using ultimates on an eco round that they're pushing through, getting the thrifty to the 2 count. Now we have the actual timeout to come through. And this is to keep the flow, to say here, this is what we're missing, I think, right? It seems like they're running into sites. They're not blind, but that phrase, they're running in blind, is kind of applying here. It seems like it's always MIBR in the upper hand of a fight, or peaking at the right time and just having all the info. So I think it's sourcing more of that for Crew. Slow it down to be able to go faster. I know that makes a bunch of sense. Bunch of sense right there, but yeah.
At least I'm able to decipher to say that Crew's under default's doing definitely a lot better at this point. On that Thrifty, trying to get into this A site. We talked about the deniability that MIBR had on the defense, the counter paranoia, the flashes, the fragment, but that means it's a lot less as well of utility that's available for MIBR for these retakes. So flooding these sites later, working out that map. It has been a great solution for Crew's rounds that they're able to get last week against Furia. They're able to, or they're trying at least to bring this back now again. Off the timeout. Couple of those ults that's been used on that Thrifty. They still have the Hunter's Fury into this round here. Defaulting into another round.
That's the big one, is defaulting.
Yeah.
The knife, it looks like it's going to hit, actually, Heat right in the face here. Just on the outside, they find out where he is.
And they want to default because Kesnet also has this operator. So working towards that back, going head-to-head against Heat if Heat was playing towards that market.
Oh, close-up upwards. You love to see it. Spike is still left behind, so this is going to be the alert bot destroy. See who they can pull. Pull for Heat.
Battle.
Takes down Kesnet.
Denied. JZZ just playing the bait, the teammate to find the first contact in the kill, and Davies couldn't clear the corner. So off a timeout that was supposed to be in favor of Crew, of trying to figure out what they could do after winning that Thrifty. Well, MIBR just plays the patience game. Lets Crew walk into them.
Exactly.
And with all these 1v1s.
And in rounds, Van Silly, where we've seen 3 members of MIBR mid, and it's a place where Kesnet in the squad was able to find a fight on a protocol that would flash mid and clear cat. But this time, MIBR sits back. They have an awesome setup between Killjoy and FRZ sitting in mid. Like, that was just such a nicely done play.
30 seconds
We'll see how they
left.
continue to make this one work here. It's just Nags left trying to hide it out. Another time we see Crew with 1 member left and MIBR hunting them down. There's a ping.
Doesn't want to go for that orb, just wants to fight his opponents. 14 seconds left to save his Vandal. The silver lining, though, the good news for
10
Crew
seconds
into this round is that thankfully 2 rounds ago they won a Thrifty, so they'll have economy to move into the next.
Finished.
Nice little pick, which would then potentially allow Crew to maybe work towards an orb into the next round, use a lockdown to gain some space.
Yeah.
Because that space is all taken by MIBR so far.
Just ask.
So we got some money around. Klaus should be able to do a low buy, kind of focus on the Hunter's Fury here. And yeah, it's MIBR receiving. That setup looks so good between FRC and JZZ. Like, you think it's safe, 1 picks, you don't see the Killjoy, but no, there's still 2 market. And I think that's the kind of slow down before you go fast for Crew. Identify a bit more. Use that utility. Taking it in just a dry space. MIBR is not afraid. You already took down Kesnet, right? So they are easily holding their angles here. And I think Crew just has to start comboing their utility more for each and every angle to gain that layer.
Talk about not being afraid. Look at that Aldrone pushing out Heat on the extremity. Again, controlling 1 portion of the map. A change of positioning for the Killjoy too to set up towards the A site. And with that, Nags and Crew at the beginning with the pressure towards A side, we're able to pick up an orb. So Nags does have the lockdown to move into the mid round, the mid portion of this map, as we're about to reach that minute mark on the clock.
Quick
That's
no
nice. Very, very nice, actually.
I was like, let's see how fast they move on the drone. It looks like nobody gets to move on this. He gets the setup again. They choose the right site for him.
And a leg shot onto Davies. Could have been a collateral too. But that null command with the 0 point delays the clock. Finally, we're able to get the lockdown in for Nags. This is a great opportunity to get a recon dart, spam 2 smokes if we can. It's a Hunter's Fury instead on the attack. Just trying to push them back even more.
Placing alarm bomb.
Crew answer back though.
4v4.
A 4v4 for the plant into the site.
It's that utility. I think we saw Bladestorm as well come out from Heat, so it's going to be a little bit easier of a retake in that sense too. Crew is positioned though pretty well for this. We'll have to see what the take is. Is there a sonar coming up? There is one. No, it's not up actually.
If anything, it's more delays coming out from Crew. A fragment on lane. The rest of that util, we have a big paranoia on the defense, and there you go, comes out from RGL. There is that cue for MIBR to move in, but it's still gonna be Crew that holds it out to the side on the post plant. He decides to fall back instead. The round's gonna come in for Crew to put 2 on the board, but that's a nice shot, at least on the escape.
Wow, Crew really having a nice audible to be able to call there. They get shut down immediately on the drone. They've been having trouble taking that space without enough intel and initiator information, and it's still, they make it work. Everybody on that play is what makes it work. We saw the teamwork there from Crew going into the site as well. Having each other's back, Melzer gets an easy focus on the angles that are necessary, and a deep breath there, right? That's a round win, but these feel like they're just a war, I bet, for Crew each time it comes through. And they're still going against an op. They're still battling against the big economy here. It's almost getting dwindled down on the side of MIBR. So one rung of the ladder. They got climbing now. There's a few more to go to tie this first half up.
Oh, the flash pushed him away, but he swings back out. And once again, a 1v1 between the two Jets. And it's Heat that comes ahead. Aldrone on the defense as we're rotating Heat into the main aspect of B main. The Aldrone also allows him to hold the angle and not get spotted by the turret to allow for him to get that second pick onto Nagset. And Heat's just all over this map on defense.
Just promoting Heat to do things. We actually saw the combo of JZZ and Heat moving around quite a bit throughout the map. Now the A-take.
Just gonna answer back right away. Crew doesn't want to give a chance for MIBR to breathe, but all that time in the world for them to breathe. Instead, for MIBR, just a solid anchor towards that A site.
Van Stilly, this is kind of nutty. 11 and 3 for both Heat and JZZ. This is becoming pretty tough for Crew to do anything. And you just have to look at how Heat continues to do this. The rest of the team is they assist each other, right? JZZ and Heat are playing next to each other, and somehow they're still just trading, fragging, being in the right place at the right time, and actually gambling on the situations they need to. So, Crew, I don't know what the answer is at this point, honestly. It might have to be all in and go.
W.
Last time they had an eco is the one that worked for them.
So whole W, but Heat's there towards
Spike
Wine.
down A.
Already once again, we're seeing that story of that second round, the spike dropping very early just by the orb. And this is just going to be RGL putting smoke after smoke, but still gets dropped by a Sheriff. Nanos trying to push Heat out of position, also being hit by fragments. And the utility actually works back for Crew.
Yeah.
Get the player advantage.
Overwhelm strategy right now. But this is going to be tough. Now they have to break this distance and see if they can get to FRZ's Vandal in time. Just on the outside, they could as well have JZZ coming from tree here.
The Melzer's posted up, just watching the angle, finally waiting for that smoke to come up. So gets out of that position of looking towards heaven. JZZ looking to spray through that smoke right after. Kept spraying a bit, maybe could have had some taps onto Davies. Clear cat together. As for Crew, a big crossfire, no smokes available for the retake of MIBR. Because it's FRZ and JZZ, so this is great positioning for Crew in the end. Nanoswarm as well. And that's Melzer with the wall bang. Salvaging some rounds now for Crew as they have 3.
A little more W that brings them the W. So they take that A main control. And last time they were so hesitant to even retake to the spike that they lost, right? It seemed like they gave MIBR a bit too much credit for what was going on. And it almost feels like that's been the match. Crew really timid to take these angles or use util and let MIBR know where they are to a detriment. And it's like, okay, you might have gotten or saw that there was a kill towards market. Now you can creep in. No, they're ready for it, right? But if it was a flash, if they were just kind of going with the fundamentals and not trying to be so tricky, I think, in a sense. It's obviously not the reason they're losing. You got to look at MIBR for this one. Absolutely out of their mind play from all the players backing each other up throughout this entire first half here on defense. And I think they go for the throat as they come out on attack, too. I mean, we still have 2 rounds for defense here for Crew to pick up. And it almost seems like they're needed.
Yeah. And MIBR was playing with a lot of that confidence thanks to Heat's opening kills. You saw how aggressive they were on that beginning of that last previous fight from Crew once again in such a lower buy. They had 2 rifles, 2 stingers, and a frenzy, and still were able to win that round. So this technically, if you're looking from a sound play from MIBR, should have been potentially like a 9-1. But there's Some small overheats coming out here and there for the defender side, sorry, which is why probably VZK is holding on a timeout, reeling back a bit, and go back to what was that game plan, what allowed for them to get so many rounds and such a big lead at the beginning of this game.
The variations on this defensive setup too that MIBR is using continues to keep Crew guessing. They can always go back to checking mid, clearing mid, and having Kesnet work for a fight, right? That's a tried and true. So we continue to do that for now and really facilitate Kesnet the way that MIBR is facilitating Heat.
And it's Klaus actually opting on the attack, so we really want to try to create space with Kesnet. Already dashing across from Pizza, looking at the spawn, a battle in the back of the spawn. But once again, it's still Heat at the top.
Trying to push all the way through. MIBR is playing so safe in this. They're not getting caught in kind of the aggression of the strategy. Waiting to play their life. Looking for the 1v1 all the time this match so far. And here, slow down Crew once again as they look for the 1v1s, and now they're going to have to push forward even more. This becomes that no util usage I was talking about. Yes, they have the space, but now they're somewhat forced to clear. See if this paranoia hits.
Hits JZZ.
Okay, so they have it. There we go.
Both of them drop. As now Crew are moving inside that site. A plant save towards the back as Heat is on the top of that wall, looking for a pick above the shed into the back of the site. Still 3 players alive, still the paranoia, 2 flashes. So lots of the util for MIBR to flood this site. Nobody from Crew playing towards B main. But MIBR is being diligent. They want to make sure nothing's going on there.
Waiting to see if they can get anybody on the ANSI movement.
So DV's activated that null command. So you had to go to the fundies. Get that spacing and that trace! How does Maurice gets those 2 kills? And now Heat's by himself, thankfully, because you had the power of numbers of Crew on that post plant. And Heat decides once again, play the exits. It was close, it was dangerous. But it's still gonna be Crew to finish with another round on the board. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Davies was creeping out there. He's like, oh man, can I actually drop the op? Because that the money, the credits, I don't think would have been there for it. So kind of playing against that and thereby, what a shot by Maurice there. But you give the credit there, obviously, to Crew. Seeing that happen to your team, you have to make the instant reaction play. They choose the right angles and come out on top of that. It got pretty scary, but we do see they are able to get some purchases in here, even if it breaks the bank. At the last round, we're spending all the way down, and they could bring it to that 7-5 after such a dominating first half by MIBR.
Yeah. Positive aspect for MIBR with the amount of rounds that they're losing. They still have money to work with, and tried to go fast into the site for Crew. Melzer still gets the opener as it comes in from the door. And FRZ, that low weapon still lands one between the eyes of Melzer, holding towards Tell. GZZ for the rescue to move forward from Heavens to drop Davies. But the player advantage is still for Crew.
Hunter's Fury.
Coming in from the spawn, down Kesnet. Still no plants coming in.
If Nags can plant, they can put it, they can use a lockdown.
Exactly.
It has to get back to it though. Plenty of time to make this happen, but they have to figure out where they're surrounded from. He's obviously going to move after one shot for it, but is he? Is the question. Yeah, he went towards tree. There's the lockdown. Do they use it right away?
Out drone 2. Now you know exactly where they both are. But Heat still couldn't get that kill onto Klaus. Both of them now playing towards Hell. Lockdown now broken, but his position's now given away. Shot dart close. No damage onto Klaus and Nags. Actually, it's not even a crossfire for those 2 players. It's a drop down. JCZ looking in. The wall bang, but it doesn't work out. Nags it finally gets the kill. And just like that, we actually have a game in our hands. It's a 7-5 in the end at the half.
Yeah, Crew really start to turn up the heat towards that second portion of the first half, not giving MIBR as much credit, working around each other as much. And by not giving them as much credit, they weren't as timid on angles. They were anchoring each other on trades, and they were getting into the site with much more confidence. MIBR started to get pushed back on that because we weren't seeing the wins from them come from much more than awesome fragging and great placement. So that was a really great opportunity for MIBR to come back, or Crew to come back, make it 7-5, and now we'll see what the analyst desk has to say before second half.
Thank you so much, fellas. And Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that I agree with Vancilli and Rivington. A great comeback, really showing Crew like, hey, when they're down, they find ways to dig themselves back up, Sean.
Yeah. It was that timeout that happened in about the middle of the half. I think they won 5 out of the last 6. Because they looked like they were in a really, really rough spot based on the start of that game.
Yeah.
MIBR was dominating them in the beginning.
Yeah, but I think you had a round that you wanted to talk about here, which was MIBR. We had some questions about their development, but their fundamentals actually looked really good throughout at least the first part of that half.
Yeah, this is the bonus actually for MIBR. This is pretty cool. This is mainly just looking at their kind of communication, how they play off of each other really well. They fight in mid on the bonus, which is a really good idea, right? You're at a disadvantage. You want to get as much info as possible. You're willing to take a couple risks, and they end up actually losing, you know, these fights in mid right here. So we're gonna fast forward through the fights in mid, and what ends up happening is a 4-on-3 right here. And the way that MIBR handles this is really well. You can see both initiators playing over here at the B site. The Omen's on Cat. The KO comes towards mid, ends up knifing mid, and you can see it right there on the mini-map, actually. If we take a look at the mini-map, you can actually see KO rotating over towards this A site. Omen on Cat. Sova's actually B. He just darted outside of B, and that's allowing this Omen to come in the smoke. The KO is holding Heaven, and if we take a step back one more time here, we're gonna actually see right here on the hit, KO actually is going to stop things with the molly, and then the flash that comes over right there stalls the hit for just a second, and that allows RGL to come out the door, get this frag, blind, and clean up the round. And it was just really, really good how they got the information. They stacked the site in a man-down situation, and the player site had the know-how to play util first and swing off of RGL. And it was just such a good little round by them.
Yeah, it was really fantastic. The fundamentals for this team were great, but they also had some cool preset ideas as well. We had round 5 in which they were going for, if we want to pull that one up too really quick, to
share the
how does technology work? There we go. They had some cool preset ideas as well, where they were able to have this one, where they go initially for just this early Omen paranoia. I think the idea initially was just, hey, okay, we can condition, we can try and fight for this space, but upon their player here hearing this one, they actually instantly react with this Sova ultimate through. And you see he was set up to do that if players were there. And it comes through and actually manages to get a kill off of this one, which sets him up in a really good place. And that's what's been cool about MIBR, having some of those preset ideas and also some good mid-rounds.
Yeah, so what was really, really cool about this clip is both teams used similar tech. They threw KO flashes and Omen blinds paired with Sova darts, so that way the Sova darts would get pings, which is how they knew where to Hunter's Fury right there.
There's just so many great ideas that are being implemented, and of course MIBR looking great, but so is Crew. We have, at the very least on Ascent, a fun match on our hands. Let's go ahead and send it back over to your casters to take it through to that next half.
Thank you so much to our friends over here at the desk. Indeed, great utility being used. Sean mentioned it at the beginning of this game. Keep an eye out for both of these initiators going on to the attack from Davies and Klaus for Crew, for Maritz and to JZZ for MIBR. That allows players like Heat to get all these first bloods, and hopefully we could see the same thing for Kesnet now as they take the defender half for Crew.
Kind of almost the same setup. Not as many mid, but yeah, Kesnet is going to be hanging out in that mid area. Gain a little bit of information, and they wait for the knife. MIBR is totally looking for this. As they throw one of their own.
Yeah, and that actually hits Melzers, so you can't really get an early timing into getting another smoke in, but Kesnet decides to push down to get information. A nice first pick onto Moritz, as that may activate a split into this A site, trying to delay as much as it can. All that util's coming in early on the defender side, so they're gonna have even less for Crew to try to hold this. It's all up to the crossfires. It's all up to the guns now. It's fully smoked out. Doors being closed. Heat gaining some space by going on the top of the generator. Now they spot that crossfire for MIBR, but still at a disadvantage. 2 alive, a 2-player advantage. As Heat is looking for that clutch, a drop in as it gets caught into his reload. Still lands a headshot to Klaus. Kesnet long range. It's too far for these frenzies to connect.
No
and
way.
does
No
so.
way.
8 HP, only 11 bullets left. Make that even 10. Naxxit on the top has the verticality, the advantage as Heat looks up. almost comes in for it, but Naxxet saves it for Crew.
Placing
The
sentry.
kind of plays that he and their situations he can create. You see even putting the sweat onto Crew for that one. Huge play by Kesnet there to actually activate what MIBR was doing. MIBR looks like they wanted to hit A, but Kesnet's frag there kind of made them jump the gun. So they push in a little unready, still able to find the rest of this though, as Heat gives them hell in sight. Naxxet clutches it up. These rounds are getting very brutal. That's just a pistol round. We'll see how this second goes. Guardian for Kesnet here. Maybe keep this long range as they spam through some smokes. Instantly covered out by MIBR so they can start to really push up into the map. Looks like they may actually leave JZZ here for a while.
No plant came in from MIBR, so a full save that you have. A great opportunity for Crew to instantly just tie this game on a 7-7 scoreline. Passive play, getting information off the initiators. As a rotate comes back from Klaus into the B site to support here onto Nags. And all of MIBR are just really trying to pivot some players across here towards this A site.
Spike a little late on the rotate, but that actually might be what they want if they decide to actually back up on this. 2 got on that 0 point. And it looks like a rehit of pistol somewhat. Just on their own time. Running into tree here, Vansili. They pressure Davies.
Trying to pressure him, and Kesnet was able to land 2 though. Thankfully with the Guardian, does a lot of damage with that armor pin. Or lack of armor even at all from MIBR into this round. Spikes down out of the open though, just on the staircase of tree. Both players of Crew just watching it, but in different angles. So this is 2 2v1s.
One enemy remaining.
And it's still held back by Crew in the end. Tied up 7-7.
A bow and arrow is old-fashioned. Sometimes old ways are best.
Another hit from Crew. They're feeling pretty powerful in these rounds. I think that first half is a little bit of a mental check for what was happening. As the desk said, that timeout was about, what, 5 in a row, and they were able to grab it. Now feeling a little bit better in these situations, but still the rounds go down to only a few members. That's going to start making the economy real weird if Crew can't start selecting or getting these with a lot of members up, find the W, and get an operator into Kesnet's hand if that is the operation that they're looking for.
Tough to do here as Crew has lost a lot of players on that previous round, only keeping 2 alive, so the bonus round is not that great on a defender half, on the defender side of Crew. Meanwhile, for MIBR, shot dart that seems to be landing towards mid to counter up onto the alarm bot. Average Jonas, if you're watching, do you like that one?
It's interesting. Crew taking all this space back up towards middle. I think they realized that FRZ pushed through that last time, and they're just making sure nobody's getting any space. So mid's cleared. They might start to rotate off that or rotate through to tiles. This is going to be the detection here by Klaus.
Trying to go for shot dart damage into B main.
Nice dodge.
Dealing area.
But it's now finally MIBR comes in. Paranoia from both ends. 4 players fully blinded. That's going to slow down the push from MIBR just for a bit. Now it's all it comes down to who's lucky by spraying through the smoke, and it's going to be MIBR instead. First blood into this, but Melzer answers back. Heat now falls towards the switch. That's both jets down. 13 seconds left on the clock. We have to commit inside this B site. Crew still holds it back with the stack that they have as JZZ gets popped off. A 2v1. There's no time left for a plant. And the bonus round in the end. Lure weaponry for Crew. As even Davies lands one through the wall.
Crew feeling it now. What a defense. It's not even the Killjoy defensive setup too. That required the team good usage of utility coming in there and everybody on board with the same strats. Now they'll switch it up. The KJ util will be over towards that B area. And from the get-go, they kind of avoided everything MIBR was trying to do. The denial of utility in middle, trying to make MIBR move out of position. Just, or Crew rather, not going to happen, and it didn't. So What guns do we have here? I actually retract my statement about Kesmet maybe going for the op. We did see the Guardian buy, so really no focus there. If the Jet's going to do it, maybe the Famous, or I always say that, Bulldog comes through for them, and they're able to get themselves in that long shot range. But we have seen the Oppers playing real close. Tree play, whatnot. We'll have to see if that comes back into play.
Yeah, no ops yet. Crew with full Vandals. Eco round from MIBR. First contact from the utility that came out from Naxxit and Heat.
Wow, Heat.
That's how you get that right click in. Weapon now upgraded. Still not moved into the site. Aldron's gonna spot so much, but no ping, no wallbang opportunity for Crew. But they're already moving in towards the sidewalk.
Yeah, this is really fast.
5 players stuck inside the site. Melzer answers already. First blood into the retake. Now you're playing so pushed up for MIBR, close to their staircase, making sure that nobody can really move down. A 0 point was also thrown by Moritz just to prevent more utility from coming out. 2 flashes available for Crew in the hands of Davies to activate this retake. Cloudburst first up. There's that first flash, but FRZ was ready for that one. Second one has been used, but we can't get any more kills coming in. That line of attack just by the staircase is just too much for Crew to handle, as Kesnet now just looking for the exits. But another thrifty, this time in favor of MIBR.
What is? Man, this, we get a lot of thrifties.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. Since the start of the Americas, this is, I don't know, definitely, maybe a dozen. But yeah, playing inside the site here.
That's when he knew.
Yep, that's when he knew. It's like the Sage Wall we saw in week 1. That's the plays that we have to see MIBR making, though. He, again, on his shoulders, 19 and 9 this game. And making the plays to enter and get into the site. Even with that denial, you cannot stop what he is putting down.
Bucky not lucky
One way
for Melzer pushing forward. And that was nice utility on the attack for MIBR. Early per advantage, more pressure being done. Double push from Klaus and from Nax out towards B main.
Gotta talk about that peak when this round is over. That was so cheeky from Heat and JZZ. Here we go into A, though.
Davies is ready just at the front. MIBR really wanted to move into this site as they knew they had players advantage. But that's great anchoring play at the start. Null command then on the attack from Moritz. As JZZ's looking in for the plant will also allow the Hunter Secure to come out. If he could make it out towards A main, but the door's been broken. Naxxit watching a recross out towards A main. So maybe decides to play the crossfire, double towards Hell, 1 towards A main instead. Recon out, turret on the defense.
Blocking sight.
But it's so patient right now. Holding back for MIBR. Waiting for the utility to dissipate from that cloudburst, disappearing. Now playing close. No tap onto the spike. Things are looking grim here for Crew to be able to win this round. Especially with that timer on that clock continuing to dwindle down. MIBR finally regained the lead.
Taking it back off a little one-way play towards that A main control. We've seen a lot of it from both teams. If it's not a fight that you're expecting mid, you can probably find a 1v1 or however many you're going to be at A main. And this one-way that was thrown from the side of Crew, totally played off of by MIBR. The recon bolt goes over, and instead of Heat strafing out on that smoke, Heat was jumping out. So all you see on the other side is feet landing halfway out of the smoke while you're already being pinged. Heat picks up a first frag. Really neat stuff that they're putting together to give Crew trouble at the beginning of these rounds. They'll stay back for the 0 points. Both teams just getting that early info. It looks like they respect the distance and space on it too. No damage, a little bit of damage.
We know now there's an Odin playing on a defense. Close towards the sidewalk. And MIBR decide to fall back to just creep back up, scale back up for some mid-control. The ping's already coming out here. So the idea potentially just to try to break this alarm bot and figure out what we want to do after that into the next steps. For Crew, just patience. Holding it from a double tree. There is that move up.
Looking for a fight, looking for that alarm bot. Mission accomplished. And they're, I think, leave. No, they don't leave. Seeing that Maurice has the spike now, they're probably going to stay with this situation. And 0 Point doesn't clear market or anything in market, so they're looking for the distant shot, maybe down towards switch. Still somewhat of a default here if they want to break out of this play and go somewhere else, but
30 seconds
none
left.
of Crew is leaving themselves open to allow MIBR anything until MIBR goes for the full hit. Execution on the B site now through market.
And from that, identifying that the KJ is playing towards the B site, pushing towards there, avoiding the KOL from spawn. 100 skewer towards the back of the site, and it lands onto Klaus. 10 seconds left on the clock, though. The double stack in the back works really well for Crew. Spike is now down with 6 seconds. Almost no time left.
One enemy remaining.
That's it.
Crew does it, holds it in. And it's going to be back to a 9-9 scoreline. Back and forth here, Riv.
Yeah, Crew is doing a great job of figuring out what MIBR is doing and avoiding everything they're trying to push. Repositioning these rounds for their defensive setup to kind of allow MIBR to walk in without finding much, revealing their location if they have to take down the alarm bot. It's that situation, that late, Crew is getting set up. They're able to lean and have safe positional movement. So now back to mid, we're going to see one go for Crew. Both teams kind of played this back and forth with having someone mid, and they're two of the first we really saw in VCT Americas doing this and have full hits through it still. So they'll continue to test each other, looking for that fight. If it's not at the A main control fight, it's at the mid fight.
And that mid fight is Heat setting out to fight 1v1 against Kesnet. Both of them falling back, forcing an Alodrone early from Klaus. Just looking for potentially an assist here. We have flashes available from both Gelato and also towards Tree, just to try to add that pressure to see if he could get an opener here. But this position from Melzer towards Wine. It's been identified, got spotted. He's gonna have to try to TP away, get the shrouded step back into the A side safely, and even at 0 Point for the defense, spots 2 towards Catwalk. So Crew doing a great job to spot at least 3 players down towards the A side.
FRZ with the fake. Also just separating the map completely. Everybody in B is in prison right now.
Paranoia out towards Generator, though. Heat's trying to dash in. Melzer, a great spot. Usually a great anchor player towards Dice. Gets a transfer on the second kill. JCZ, though, answers back. Davey for the rescue, for the support in the end.
Spike
and that lockdown that was thrown from FRZ was looking for an opportunity to catch some on the rotation. Does so onto Naxit. Now picks up a Nodin, comes into a 1v1, breaks this door as Davies in the front. Flash in, no time for a plan, and Davies just trying to survive, jumping in towards the front. The spray goes into the wrong corner. And Crew back in the lead as we go again back and forth.
Gotta get a count of how many rounds have gone down to no plant, just fight at this point. They are drawing these out so far. Melzer able to do this over and over again, and MIBR had such a good setup. FRZ draws out the Hunter's Fury with the lockdown, so it can't be used later in the round, but it does not matter. Crew still finds the defense on the other side of the map with all of the team being separated. Incredible stuff right now as this game goes back and forth. Crew again take the lead, Van Silly, as we start off just a little bit back, waiting for these 0 points. And now we go forward. Up towards Cat is going to be 2 here. We'll see if they can get Heat into Tree with a little bit of utility. Oh, he's forced.
Flashed. That was Davey with no utility left, though. Still Maurice falls. Aniko coming in from MIBR. Trying to activate at least something. They had the strongest weapon being a stinger in the hands of Heat. But the dash and the flash, just he ran into a wall with that dash, unfortunately. So no opportunity for MIBR to capitalize early into the round. So Crew has a great opportunity now to get the lead by 2. Some breathing room. And even more confidence because we're nearing the end of this first map. Where once again, if you're just tuned in, this is supposed to be an MIBR map as they were looking so good on that first half. The Crew now has found a way to answer back since that timeout, winning 5 out of 6 mentioned by Sean, and now taking the lead 10-9.
Yeah, those first rounds for MIBR were 5-1 before Crew, I think, found themselves
30 seconds left.
a way back in this. And now a way to win this very much in their future. 20 seconds left in this. Another round that goes right down to the pressure cooker here, Vansili.
Davies wasn't even scared on a low HP. Manages to escape on time. And yeah, always down to these last second plants. Will they work out? We stuck it off.
3 seconds.
Not gonna happen here. There's 4 left. We're just trying to do that damage. And it's the right click classic from Klaus. We do have the 2-point spread after all for Crew.
It finally got a little bit of a cushion to rely on, but never letting down. A timeout for MIBR here to sort out how these site takes have really been going down. I think that's the problem. MIBR Crew looked really focused in what they're doing on the retakes, on getting the positions of MIBR dislodged on those retakes, right? They really don't have time to set up. We actually saw some of the B takes where Crew was just already hitting while MIBR was trying to plant. It's all in the same motion. So there is no real like exec to post plant. It's all happening at the same time. And It seems like Crew is really being able to thrive in that chaos.
Crew is definitely doing a good job to make MIBR think that they have map control here.
Exactly.
You see how passive they are on market. And when they actually even give up towards switch, double up towards the back of the site. Same thing for A site. You have somebody like Davies that's playing close to the tree, using the utility when MIBR think that they have tree control and go into an A site hit. Well, it's players playing passively towards Hell, towards Dice. And they're always activating great utility to allow these double swings to come out and just shut down MIBR in these hits, which is why we're seeing this current result.
Yeah. MIBR still with some great mid-round calls. We saw the lockdown going towards B, being able to separate the map in that 3-2 formation, and Crew not having the Sova utility to get back in. A lot of the recon and the Killjoy as well, just to come through, usually in that tree position when you're trying to reflank. Honestly, it doesn't seem like they felt any pressure in these situations. Now we'll switch up that Killjoy utility back over towards A. We get a little bit more mid-focus, and a change from MIBR too. They're going to go ahead and actually leave RGL and FRZ over towards B to start this off. So you see a lot of the initiator utility backing up heat to make sure A main fight works, and orb control is pretty easy.
There's really no pressure being done towards A main in the beginning. Not even a 0 point coming out. Just a one-ways continuing on a defense for Crew. MIBR looking to fall back and work towards his mid like they always did, but look at this double play inside that smoke. Kesden lining out the flash, but it's a bad timing, but at least Melzer is able to come out to get that kill. Instantly gets traded out by Moritz. As MIBR is still looking to fight back for mid, Crew decides to do the opposite. Anchor back and turtle back towards this B side, the strength that they've been currently getting towards these late rounds.
Smoke still left. They choose to use it on tree. That's the last one for now. The team's gonna look to move on this, or at least see what utility. Actually, they may be stopped here knowing it's Killjoy.
Oh no. Unfortunate there. He almost had that knife, but getting hit by that 0 point. That's no utility used now towards the A site, allowing MIBR to move in. Both dinosaurs did get broken, and he, no! Gets owned by his teammate's fragment as he was running away from the nanoswarm. Yet, the plant still comes down for MIBR, and Crew are looking to go for the retake with this player advantage.
Each wishing that nanoswarm change didn't come through for line of sight, but nonetheless, the site take comes in. They're stomping down from heaven.
3 dropping at the same time, though, and they get instantly dropped for MIBR. Heroic play not available for RGL. Crew get the defuse. Am I saying this right? Crew are at map point.
Crew are at map point, persevering through this match, saying thank you very much for a bit of help on that last round, obviously. Definitely made the retake a little easier, but you're right. It almost looked like that last 0 point was perfect to go into FRZ. It wouldn't allow the utility going through, but they only shot the alarm bot going through. The mollies are so much harder to see, really want to shoot. You're focusing on angles, and it comes up to bite heat in the butt, and then a fragment. Still 20 and 14 on top I would say that's a fine play to have happen if you're going to put these numbers up still, but they are looking for Heat to do that. It's going to be tough, fans. Low buy Spectres for the side of MIBR here. Crew has been running the show. Ultimates to be used on the side of Crew, and you're looking at that Null Command and Hunter's Fury for the side of MIBR being even more important as we get to these close rounds. 3 chances to tie it up.
MIBR avoided the 0 point early into this round. Maybe want to try to get a timing as soon as the second smoke dissipates here from that Omen thrown by Melzer, that dark cover. Then a Null Command's going to be a big one here. Here it comes. The timing of that smoke disappearing, the Null Command coming out, so no fragments out into the front side of A on a defense for Crew. Paranoia then comes in. Hunter's Fury on the attack. Melzer's just letting everybody through, but a nice little underhander. No, we're not clearing it! We're not clearing it as it gets 2 kills! And even a third one!
Remaining.
Only 1 left to go. It's JZZ against all odds in a 4 versus 1. At least avoids the owl drone, but I don't know what else you could do here.
Watch this.
30 seconds left.
They're waiting. They know. No chance to let this one go, but it is all up to JZZ here. Once he peeks, gonna be instantly hit. Kesnet's gonna make that last and final shot. Crew with the comeback. From the first half, carrying through to the second, the thrifty rounds, slicing and dicing through everybody's hopes and dreams on this one. But Crew, once they got that 2-round gap that you mentioned, they were able to extend it, find the win, even over Heat, putting out that much pressure with the rest of the squad. Everybody on MIBR looked like they had this match locked in. And Crew had to do a lot of thinking behind the scenes.
A lot of things, but it still manages to amass them a victory into this map. Again, a start from MIBR that was very strong. And it seems as though when they were talked about at the desk, which type of team is going to play a map of Ascent much better with a standard comp on a standard map. But that storyline was always around how both of these teams held a very good defense. And now slight rounds of overheat that MIBR did that forced the timeout to come out in their favor on the attack was probably that small overheat that allowed Crew to make that comeback and win this first map.
Absolutely. The desk talked about Davies. He's looking good, flexing around, having great additions. We're going to be stepping away, but GB and the analyst desk will be breaking this one down for map number 2 coming up next.
Stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. I'm a racing car, passing by like Lady Godiva. I'm gonna go, there's no stopping me. Don't stop me now, I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball.
Red Bull gives you wings.